My name is Bhanu, and I represent a company called Pvt Security. Pvt Security is a company which is working in cyberspace. Space, never corporate. We are there in this domain since last 20 years. It's a research-based company. What we do research on cyberspace. We identified today's, tomorrow's vulnerabilities. We try to resolve it. We try to resolve it through our research. We have a 400 plus people company. 98% of people are researchers. We don't have any sales force. We develop unique product. I would like to first convey my gratitude to VARINDIA, giving us the opportunity to speaking here. This would be our first interaction in India in an open forum. Prior to that, we participate in RSA and Black Hat. I would like to utilize this forum rather interacting with you, rather than taking through a very comprehensive and detail-oriented technical presentations, because our presentations are very much technical in nature. Let me ask you a very fundamental question. When you go for buy a mobile phone, what do you ask? What is the size of ROM or RAM? Whether it's 4 GB or it's 8 GB, hard disk 250 GB, 100 GB. We never ask anybody, how secure is my mobile phone? Same thing, when you buy a normal computer, desktop or laptop, we buy a lot of things. We buy a lot of IT product like firewall. We buy everything and anything in IT domain. We never ask a very fundamental question, how secure is this device? That's where we do research. So Pvt Security, as a commercially available company, we started in 2009. We originated from Israel. We have collaborated with US, Singapore, and India. We have 3 products: Be Secure, Be Strong, and Be Source. Before I get into my product segment or anything I talk about the company and technology, I'd like to go through this line. Cyber is like human body. We need to accept the fact that it will get infected. But like a human system, our immune system will detect these threats, fight them off, and eliminate. Same thing it happened in cyber domain also. We detect a vulnerability, we try to identify where it originated, and we try to remove it. That's exactly we do. Let's see Cyberspace 2020. Everybody, we use social media. We use a lot of softwares in our desktop, in our computer system, in our corporate environments. Now there are 2 things happening in simultaneously. Somebody is designing some hardwares and somebody is designing some kind of softwares. Both are working in tandem, and that's giving you a lot of results. Why the vulnerabilities are there? Why the attacks are happening? And how it is happening? Who are responsible? And who should be responsible for this? So if you look into cybersecurity, it's a $6 trillion US industry. Do we really concern about the security? Then why it is happening? Let's take an example of .NET. If you use .NET as a technology developing any application, or use Java, or use Python, writing any applications, being a OEM who are using this languages to develop applications, or a hardware vendors, every time they integrate these things together, there are some gaps. People who want to target any hardware or any software to plant a malware, to initiate a DDoS attack, to execute a remote code, they always try to exploit these vulnerabilities. They always try to penetrate through your networks, through your application, and how they are doing, because they know how to exploit it. That means somewhere we are missing the link. When you develop an application, we miss that link to secure the application. Like for example, Android, open source is good, it's free, it's freely available, anybody can use it. But who is the responsible to secure open source like Android, which we all are using today? It is the OEM. Now the point is whether the OEM is doing knowingly or it is happening absolutely on a free way. Yes, there are two things happening. One, when you use a device, we should know how to use the device. That means the education of utilizing a devices is not happening. Before we use any device, we should know how to use, when to use, how to sanitize the device. Like for example, if you are using a mobile phone, we download a lot of applications without knowing the implication of those applications. Because it's freely available, and because it is freely available, it is vulnerable. Because nobody is taking the responsibility to securing it. If at all somebody is taking the responsibility, there is no manual available which says that these are the methods to secure the applications. So Beyond Security is a company which works primarily in two domains, software and hardware. We try to identify the vulnerabilities associated with any software which is available in this planet. We are the company, probably this is the number one company which covers 300 plus protocols where the entire global communication is happening. Being it a telecom company or it's a hardware development company like Cisco or Juniper or anybody else, they use the same protocol to communicate with each other in a converged network. So Beyond Security as a company does a lot of research on those protocols and helps its partners to secure those protocols for getting vulnerable and shut down any network in coming days. We as a company, like the product bSource. bSource is a product which developed by our company serving the largest client in the world, starting from Microsoft, MasterCard, Fed Reserve, US Army, US Navy, most of the reputed clients, identifying the known and unknown vulnerabilities for any application they're using on their network. And it's also helping the partner to identify the remediation of these vulnerabilities so that nobody can take over the network and shut down the system in no point of time. The product bStorm. bStorm is designed around a technology called fuzzing. Fuzzing is a technology where you don't have a direct access to any source code. This particular product is used by majority of the security organizations, global R&D organizations like NASA, DRDO, to identify the unknown vulnerabilities which is not known to all of us. People talk about zero-day attack. So my fundamental question is, what is zero-day attack? A zero-day which is known to you or zero-day is known to us. Like it's very simple. What is the definition of a zero-day? The day you discover or the day we discover? That's where the gap is. And Beyond Security as a company, through its product bStorm, solves these issues. It helps its client to identify the zero-day which will mutually agreeable to us, all of us. A day where a client who is using the product, or a day where there is somebody in the back end who is using the similar product to identify the vulnerability to exploit it. Primarily, our product bStorm, which covers 300 plus protocols used by nuclear reactors, railway trafficking systems, space research, and many other mission critical applications, where we help people to identify these zero-days vulnerabilities to secure their networks. bSource, which is a source code analysis tool, or we can say a static code analysis tool, where we have a clear indication or we have a common position of a source code which we can evaluate. This is the fastest tool in the world. Under 3 seconds, it can scan millions of code and is going to give you a clear picture how to identify a known and unknown vulnerability by the very same code which is developed by our people in the organizations. Today, we see a lot of mobile phone applications. We see a lot of payment gateway applications like payment wallet, Airtel payment wallet, Jio payment wallet. There are a lot of payment wallet systems where we do the transactions. when we are developing these payment gateway applications, we develop this application in a very controlled environment, which is called static environment. And when we use this application, it gets into a very dynamic environment. Like for example, the same application used by Oxygen OS, which is running in an advanced Android system, and the same application used by another person who is using your 3 years or 4 year backtracked application, the same Android phone. That means the environment for a person who is using the latest Android phone and the environment for a person which is using an older version of Android phone is same. Now, how the application can be secured when the environment is dynamic? The OEM who develop these payment gateway applications or a mobile wallet, they never consider this dynamic environment because they have absolutely no clues how and which way this environment does exist. Because it is very hard to get an idea how many people are using 2009 developed Android application and how many people are using 2019 developed Android applications. So if you look into an OEM point of view, which is very hard to identify this dynamic environment. That's why Beyond Security play a major role helping the OEM to identify these kind of dynamic environment and the threat and the vulnerabilities associated with this environment. If we look into cyber attacks, we have malware, DDoS, phishing, ransomware. The same software which we develop for helping us is go against us, destroying the networks. Now the latest is hijacking the satellite. Some people are saying why to create a satellite or send a satellite, let's own the satellite without doing anything. So they hijack the satellites. Hijacking the operating systems. Every single operating system available in this planet can be hijacked. We as a company, with our resources, working day in and day out, doing a comprehensive research on these operating systems and these parameters to identify the known and unknown vulnerabilities. The first thing, we intimate the OEMs who are responsible for it to correct it. We put it in a public forum, and at the same time, we design the parameters to secure these operating systems and applications across the globe. Beyond Security is pioneer in creating a first of its kind AI-enabled cyber defense system. When I say AI-enabled, we have built-in AI on our applications which is intelligent enough to identify or adapt itself with the modern days vulnerabilities or threats. Like for example, the application runs in the backend to understand the set parameters by the organizations. Like for example, if an application needs 1 GB processing power and suddenly the processing power increases, that means something which is happening in the backend. So our application is smart enough to identify this unidentified application which runs in the backend and take necessary steps to notify you the vulnerabilities associated with your applications or the hardware you are using. Like for example, WPA3, which is, for India primarily it is launched or yet to launch. There is a vulnerability called Dragon Blood. Very critical vulnerabilities. It completely leaks the information. It completely take over the entire communication system if it's running in WPA3. So Beyond Security is the first company who identified the critical vulnerability in WPA3, which is a product we use in our Wi-Fi network, notify it, and the product are capable enough to handle this kind of situation in coming days. So as I was telling you, Be Secure is our first product, Be Source is the second product, and Be Strong. These are the three products which is commercially available in India. If I talk about Be Secure we develop keeping in mind of a human body. It's like this, very simple. We take antibiotic without doctor prescription. We buy IT product without knowing what we need. The second problem in the whole IT industry is that we keep on adding the IT infrastructure every year. It's very hard for any organization to keep a track what we have added last year. Even though we have asset management product or software with us, it's very hard to keep a track. The software upgrades in the firmware level and various other levels. Be Secure is the product which is very much effective, keeping track of anything and everything of a hardware product which has an IP address assigned. If you assign the IP address to a normal security camera IP phone, so this software keep a track of it, and it depicts or it gives a reports how this device is performing overall, whether there is any vulnerabilities. It's also include a normal printers, network printer which is there in the organization. Today, we as a company, we are very new to India. We look forward a strong partner network who can help us going and meeting people and talking about the kind of new or advanced vulnerabilities available and coming in coming days and how to take care of those things. I request all of you spare some time visiting our research center which is in Noida to look into some of the world deadliest vulnerable malwares and how we as a research company trying to help our partners or our clients globally to handle this situation, to make their network secure. Beyond Security has other side also. Beyond Security is the EDSA approved tool. Basically like company like Cisco and Juniper or any other product company in that way. When they need a EDSA certification, this is a EDSA approved tool which they can utilize to certify their product, because the same product used by the security organization to certify who is going to certify their product. So anybody who is coming up into a manufacturing setup or who are keen to develop their product in networking domain or a communication domain or an IT domain, we suggest that they can utilize this opportunity utilizing Beastrom as a product, verify their hardwares before they go for a certification and make the certification process smooth. Be Source and Be Secure. Probably we are the only company where the company and the product both are PCI DSS approved, which means any company which are into finance or there is a common transaction between a person and a domain, they can utilize this product to do an audit. From audit, let me also clarify a few points. Like nowadays people are doing, in India there is some concept called VAPT, Vulnerability Assessment and Penetration Testing. So PT is a very funny word. And we don't believe in our cyber domain PT. Why not? Because company download free softwares from internet to do PT. I was interacting with one of client in India. I asked like how much you pay for a PT. He said 20,000. So which clearly indicate that the guy who does a PT with them, they download some freewares, which means when they download a PT software to do a PT audit on the organization, after completing the entire PT activity, something that software left in the organization, and because of that, people face a lot of things. DoD attack, remote code execution, and many things. It's very hard to convince somebody that don't pay 20,000, pay some good money, get somebody who can download authenticated software to do a PT. So we recommend people, please authorize people and check on what software they are doing these activities, because software backfires. So Be Secure is a software which is recognized and approved by PCI DSS as an authorized tool to scan or do audit any financial organization like banking, PFSI, payment gateways, mobile wallets. So any OEM in this domain or any partner who wanted to work in this domain, we are welcoming them to our center to understand it more and help their client securing their network. Thank you very much listening me, and I would like to invite you to our research center, pay a visit, understand cyber domain in a better way, in a more advanced and secure way. Thank you so much.